Hey everybody, Bridget Lynn Dolgoff and Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Anyway, I kind of need to do better at talking about my work on my videos. I'm just not really good at self-promotion. But I do traditional, non-medical, non-MD, osteopathic medicine or energy and structural medicine. And I've been working on animals actually longer than I've worked on people. I've lost count, like way over 25 years. And I worked on people and animals way long before that for no pay. And so I do traditional osteopathic medicine or energy and structural medicine on animals, which sometimes there can be acupuncture involved. Sometimes there can be like some shiatsu type stuff. Can be certain types of adjustments. I do a reboot, and I check their diet. I give people, ideas on how to change their diet and their nutrition a little bit. Education. Sometimes I use things like essential oils, teach people how to use those on the animals. And I sometimes offer different kinds of medicine, non-traditional or non-allopathic type medicines for whatever is going on with the animal, and do some recommendations where they can pick that medicine up themselves, or and I mostly, it's four-legged animals that I'm super good at. I do horses. I actually studied with Dr. Kamen, who created the actual horse adjustments. That's why there's a law now that a horse can't be adjusted 24 hours or 48 hours before a race, a thoroughbred, because he could get them to run faster naturally. And so I do horses, dogs, some cats, and I do farm animals. I've done the biggest animal I've crunched on was a 350-pound ram, which is, a bit scary, but my desire to make him feel better was, more important, so he can get out there and hang out with his babies. Those man sheeps, they love their little babies. So anyway, so I was going to tell you a story about a dog, because that's the easiest way that I can kind of explain how a lot of my work works. And, mind you, a lot of this work has been experimental, growing up and working with animals and watching their behavior, and working on them and trying to help them. And some of it's been education. Some of it's just kind of a feel, a sense, kind of like a knowing kind of a thing. And I can pick up on lots of different things. Like, I'm not a, psychic who talks to animals. I specialize in health. So I relate to them in a way where I work on, help working with them on an intuitive level to figure out what the issues are and how to unravel the issues. Thank God animals are unbelievable healers, because they don't have all the emotional crap in the way. But sometimes their humans have too much emotional crap, and their animals are taking it on, and the animal just can't get past it. And then the animal basically surrenders its life, to help the human, but the human doesn't get it. And animals can be really affected by negative energies on farms or land, on the house, just, lots of different unseen forces and energies, that are here and present. So sometimes, that really needs to be assessed as well. So this is a story. So I was on a farm in the Mendocino area when I was doing an apprenticeship, I think it was like in 2010. And this one guy had, 5 or 10 acres, and we went over and we planted potatoes in this area. We tilled it, planted the potatoes, and there were some really dark energies there, which is a whole other story. It was like what was happening there was just shocking, and the ravens, it just was unbelievable. But that's a later on story. Anyway, they had this dog, like this, larger male herder, kind of sheep herder dog, but it was a larger variety. And he was old. He was like, 12, 13 years old, and his joints were rounded out with his front paws, his elbows and stuff. His joints weren't stacking up straight anymore. Sometimes it can be arthritis. Sometimes it can be diet. It can be just a host of things, some virus or whatever else. Anyway, he just looked bad. He wasn't getting up, barely walked, kind of dragged his back legs. So after we got done planting potatoes, I approached the guy and I said, hey, I work on animals, and I would be more than happy to gift you a little mini treatment on him because I could help him a lot. So the guy said, yeah, if you could help him feel better, that would be great. So I popped his hips in and a couple of places in his back, around his adrenals, and around like his heart area too. Did a little work around his front kind of scapula area to kind of help release some of the stuff that was going down his arm that was rounding his front arms out. And then I gave him a reboot, which is a technique I learned to do on people that I also consider like a shamanic blow that moves your assemblage point. But it actually adjusts the body, and it pulls in a non-evasive way, and it actually ignites both sides of the brain in like seconds. So the brain comes on whole brain function out of disease state, which is left brain, which is reptilian, and then the right brain comes on, and then the brain starts scanning the body. And in animals who are older, boy, you see the response like that. All of a sudden they start sniffing the air, they start walking around, they're like way straighter, they don't have a lot of the problems that they were having even with legs, and so he just looked way better, and he just kind of boogied off and went sniffing, and everybody just kind of watched like, wow, that's kind of like miraculous. Well, 2 days later, I get a phone call from the guy, and he says, can you reverse your work? I said, what do you mean, can I reverse my work? He goes, well, we forgot, this dog, we've had him all these years, but he was always like a problem when he was younger because he was always running off, chasing girl dogs and whatever else. And we were always having to go find him. They had a big piece of property. We would always keep going find him and then bring him back. And he did that. He said, so after he slept off your treatment, the next day he was gone, and I had to go find him. And he said he was 2 miles down the road, and he ran behind the truck all the way back to the house. And he said he hasn't done this since we're talking like 7 or 8, 10 years, that he hasn't done it, like he's acting like a pup. And I said, wow, that's great. I'm glad that he's feeling so good. He goes, yeah, but we don't want to. It was the first time I ever really had somebody complain that they would rather have their dog kind of sick and lethargic instead of actually feeling better. But anyway, that can explain to you like how miraculous some of the work that I do can be. So I do travel. I charge for traveling. And my home base is usually in the Reno area. And if I do travel, wherever I'm going to go, usually I need kind of a place to stay where I can stay in my van, get good quality food, meals, and shower or whatever else during the duration of the work. Otherwise, you can call me. But I always try to go on location for animals, and so I have set fees. Sometimes I've been called out. I've had people in the past that have had horses, and they've had 3 or 4 of them that have some kind of stuff going on, whether post-traumatic stress disorder, abuse, severe injuries. They get them and they've had nutritional or health problems. So I usually go out and I usually, will work with like 4 of them at a time, or, things like that. Or I've gone on to farms and looked at the energy of the farm and did some dowsing and, helped with creating better energies for the farm and the animals. And so just kind of go out and look at the whole thing, and from, the land where they're living, what they're eating, what the environment looks like, to, how they relate in a community, and also then down to their personal health, their structure, and their energy. And then go about releasing all the things that are at play that are negative, which is like just an unraveling process. So sometimes if there's a lot of trauma, or say, for example, I travel quite a ways to see animals, I like to see more than one. I'd like to have like a bigger job. And I usually charge fuel. I don't charge labor time on my way. So, So, I've worked with a lot of elderly animals. I've worked with a lot of animals that have some serious trauma, have had disease, have been abused. And just work on getting them right and perfect, which is easier than humans. So anyway, that is the story about traditional osteopathic, energetic, instructional medicine that I do. It's multifunctional and multifaceted, and sometimes can be multidimensional, and then also kind of based in reality, like with nutrition and food and things like that. So if that interests you, give me a call. I will put some information down. And anyway, I hope if you have any, I usually charge for a consultation, so people can call me and make an appointment that are long distance or whatever else, that want more information, or I can give them sometimes suggestions over the phone and things like that. So anyway, we have Skype that has a video camera, and sometimes I have clients take me out on their property with their little video camera on Skype and kind of show me things and explain things to me about things that may be going on or what's happening, and I can give them information that way as well. So anyway, All right, thanks for listening. Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Have a great day.